All right, well, I was going to say live a little, but let's actually have a conversation about what it is to be in the midst of what you are. Process is something you are famous for at Alabama. The process at the moment is completely different than it's ever been. Explain to me and help me understand, what is the process on a daily basis trying to lead a program?
Well, I think the process to me is just, you define a goal and an expectation that you have for your organization or for yourself. And the process is just a definition of what you have to do to accomplish that goal or standard that you want to sort of aspire to. And I think the most important thing about that is you got to have the discipline to execute it every day. And certainly that's something that we try to instill in our players and the people in our organization so that we have a chance to reach the goals and aspirations that we have.
You were kind to ask me before we started how I'm doing, and I told you, I mean, the structure of my day-to-day, and I'm a creature of habit, has been totally thrown out of whack, but we're figuring it out as we go along and trying our best. For you, Nick, personally, I mean, you've done what you've done incredibly well for a long time, but you've had to figure out new things. How have you dealt with what this is?
Well, I think that, the first thing I did is they told us on March 13th, which was a Friday, which was the last day of school before everybody went on spring break, that we were shut down, that we couldn't have spring practice, we couldn't do any recruiting. And immediately I just started to develop a new plan for, how are we going to move forward with our team and our players. One of the things that I've noticed sitting in on these Zoom calls every day, because we could do it slow, we could teach concepts, there's been some tremendous teaching going on that when you have players for 20 hours a week and you got a 45-minute meeting and then you got to go out to practice, sometimes you can't do quite as good a job of teaching off the field, and you got to depend on what you have to do on the field. So what we've been able to do off the field, I think, is going to enhance the players' chances of development when they get back, whenever that might be.
That's really interesting. So mentally, maybe you get a chance to sharpen some things, but then the physical, I don't know how you replace not having spring ball. How might that impact whatever happens when we get together for fall?
Well, I can't really predict that, but I think the players that will be most affected by this are going to be the young players, because I think spring practice is the first really opportunity that they have to learn things at a really snail's pace. You don't have to get ready for games. You're not putting up new game plans every week where they struggle because they don't even understand the basic concepts. And spring practice is where they learn basic concepts. So if we can do some of that in the summer, I think that will really help them in the fall. But I think the young players are the guys that are going to have the toughest, most difficult time adapting to no spring practice.
All very interesting, as was something that you and I talked about before we started here, this Jordan documentary. And when he said things like winning has a price, leadership has a price, he said things that I could have imagined coming out of your mouth. And as you nod with me, did you find yourself, Nick, nodding along with Michael Jordan as he spoke?
I think that was the best thing I've heard for a long time, because there was nothing that I could agree with more. The way he said it, the conviction that he said it with, the things that he did, the way he lived it, all the time he competed and played. I talked to recruits, I talked to our players. I actually sent that last couple minutes of that number 8 show because I wanted players to see that. I thought that was, so inspirational, so powerful, so compelling. And, I think it's a reflection of a great competitor and what they're willing to sacrifice to be able to win, what they are willing to sacrifice to be a leader. Sometimes I see fewer and fewer people in this day and age who want to be in a leadership role because they don't want to offend anybody. They want to be liked by everyone. And I don't think you have to offend people to be a leader, but I do agree that sometimes you got to push people and challenge them to do things that they may not be comfortable doing. You got to get used to being uncomfortable sometimes when you're a great competitor. And I think Michael said it as well as it could be said, and it really came from the heart. And it was great, man. I loved it.
I bet. I know a lot of folks that are in your position, and those of us that haven't lived it the way you have felt the same. I don't want to offend you, but I'm curious about this, Nick. Like my old buddy Andy North that I do golf with would tell me back in the day when he was playing golf, if he came home for a while and didn't go out on the road, his wife and daughters, after a while, they'd be like, hey, Dad, don't you have a tournament to go play? And what I'm getting at here is, as you're home probably more than you've been, is Miss Terry trying to find something to send you out on the road, like go to the grocery store, do something just to get you out of the house for a few minutes?
Well, I was looking forward to going back to work just so I could tell somebody else what to do or somebody what to do. So I was getting a lot of orders around here, but
I bet.
yeah, but you know what? It's been a good time. I think probably spent more time with the family than, this is not a family friendly profession that we're in, the coaching profession. So this has been an opportunity to spend some quality time with your children, your grandchildren, your wife. We probably do more things together and talk more now than we did before, and I think those are all really, really good things.
Isn't that a great thing? And I've heard, Nick, so many people say some version of that it's a chance to get reacquainted. Not that you lose track of people, but we've all got stuff. You know what I mean? We got stuff and we get busy, and you get too busy for your own good. It sounds to me like in a lot of ways, we all get a chance to hit the reset button in a great way here. You agree?
I do agree. And I think, what is essential gets sort of distorted a little bit, for us all because we get, so involved in our job, in our profession, in our work, and sometimes the relationships that we need to have to make that work go well and have success that, we lose sight of some of the other essential relationships that are very personable. And I think as you get older, you kind of start having a greater amount of respect and appreciation and gratitude for the relationships that you've been able to have through the years. And, Miss Terry's certainly been one of the best ones I ever had.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.